Welcome back to a brand new video from the Shed End with myself, T.Dot. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Now, before we get into the content, please go and subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're after any podcasts, make sure you hit the Linktree link in the description. It will take you to all our podcast episodes on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, where you can go back and listen to over 70 plus episodes of From the Shed End. Now, Graham Potter gave his press conference earlier on today around our Carabao Cup fixture with Manchester City at the Etihad tomorrow night. Not much really gave away. He didn't really give us anything new that we didn't know. Spoke about the performance against Arsenal the weekend. Spoke about Raheem Sterling form again. All the stuff that we know needs to change, needs to improve, needs to get better. And play Manchester City at a time when potentially they will rest players. You'd expect maybe Alvarez to come in for Haaland. Maybe Jack Grealish will come into the team again a bit more. I know he's played on and off for Man City this season. Stefan in goal. Cancelo, I think, will be suspended. So you might see some of the youngsters. Cole Palmer might play for Manchester City tomorrow as well. So I'm expecting Pep Guardiola to change things for Manchester City. But I do think that Graham Potter has to try and win some silverware this season. And this is normally the easiest trophy to go for. The one that some teams, maybe a Manchester City, Liverpool, might rest some of their players. And they don't really treat the Carabao Cup with the respect that it should probably get, to be fair. And if we're going to try and win something this season, let's again be honest. The Champions League is anyone's, so as long as we're in it, we got a chance to win. We're out of the Premier League race, let's be honest. We're not going to win the Premier League this season. FA Cup, again, anyone's, but you know, you see that clubs will take that a bit more seriously. So this is really our only real chance of silverware this season. So I do think, based on the Brighton performance, based on how we played against Arsenal the weekend, I do think Graham Potter will field a very strong squad. He'll rest players. Obviously, we've got Newcastle on Saturday. I think it's a late kick-off, 5:30. So there will be players that will be rested. I think we won't see the likes of Mason Mount. We probably won't see Aubameyang after his shocking performance against Arsenal. I would rest Thiago Silva for tomorrow's game. I think I said in the previous video, we have to start thinking of how we can rest and wrap Thiago Silva in cotton wool. Not playing him, back-to-back games constantly. He looked finished. He looked tired. 38 years old. He looked tired after the Arsenal game. So I think he needs a rest. I think this is the perfect time to drop him. Not drop him, but allow him to have a rest. Let him have a break. Let him have a night off. Let's let him have a night off. He doesn't need to play in this game. But obviously, I tweeted earlier around some of the youngsters that are training with the squad at the moment. So, as I said before earlier on this morning, we've got Lewis Hall, Amari Hutchinson, Bashir Humphreys and Mason Burstow as some of the players that are training and have potentially travelled with the squad up to Manchester tonight for tomorrow's game. So I do think we'll see maybe Amari Hutchinson, who played really well recently against Charlton. None of those lads that I've just mentioned played in the 3-0 victory in the Premier League 2 match last night against Spurs. So you'd expect they've trained today with the senior squad. There could be intention to start off, if not come off the bench. Some really good options there from our youth prospects as well coming through. But I'm gonna share my lineup that I would go with for tomorrow. I do think Graham Potter will potentially field a very strong squad. Maybe Bettinelli might come in goal, but I think he'll stick with Mendy in goal. I think, again, Mendy he looked very shaky against Arsenal. There was times against Arsenal he didn't look 100%. He didn't look comfortable in goal. Can't play out from the back. He's not good with his feet. But I think he'll stick with Mendy in goal. I think Azpilicueta, another one. Who else can we realistically play? If we're playing a back four, who else can we realistically play at right back? If we do a right wing back situation, 3 centre backs, potentially put Ruben Loftus-Cheek there to give Azpilicueta a rest, or do you shift him to right centre back? Those are the options. So it's either or. I've gone with the back four because I just think defensively we weren't actually that bad. We just didn't make any chances against Arsenal. I think as a back four we looked better. I think, again, whichever City team they put out, whether it's a very strong City team or some of their youth prospects as well, their youth team's really good. It's probably on par with Chelsea's as well, if not better in some ways. So I think we need to put out a decent squad. I don't think we can disrespect, first of all, the cup, the competition. I think we have to go with the intention to win. I think some of these players will need an opportunity to get a full run out as well. I think one of the things that has been mentioned heavily with Graham Potter, he does like to tinker with the squad. He'll make, a large number of substitutions. Normally it's the same players that are coming off throughout games, so they're not actually getting full 90 minutes. So I think Azpilicueta, Chalobah, Koulibaly and Cucurella would be my back four for the game. I think those four, especially Koulibaly, who since his injury hasn't really been given a real run out in terms of back-to-back games, and the consistency that he probably needs in the back four to build up the partnership with Chalobah, Cucurella, Silva, whoever he's going to be playing alongside. So I think Koulibaly needs to start this game. We still need a bit of experience in that back four in our defence. So I've gone with Azpilicueta, I've gone for Koulibaly. Cucurella, again, we need to see more from this guy. He's I'm still having nightmares about the goal that he could have potentially prevented instead of hugging Xhaka for the goal. But I've gone for Cucurella. There's no other option. Ben Chilwell still injured. Whilst we're talking about defenders, one of the things that Graham Potter did confirm was that Reece James was actually back on the grass already. He's back in training, which I feel is more Reece James wanting to play the World Cup than Reece James actually being fully fit to come back into a squad. So I think that's a very risky thing to do, because we were told that he was going to miss the World Cup. We were told that he might even miss the start of the new year, the new part of the 2023 calendar period. So it's a bit of a strange one. Ideally, our medical staff should be saying, look, Reece, take it easy, take your time, rehabilitate properly. But he seems to want to go to Qatar. The problem with that is if he gets injured while he's on the World Cup duty, he could prolong his time out for Chelsea at the other end of the season. So it's good that he's back in training, but we've got to manage his injury correctly. And for me, he was only injured 2 weeks ago, I think, and for him to be back in training already, it does seem a bit rushed. So I get it. Reece James wants to go to the World Cup. He's still young. He's not gonna not go to another World Cup. I know it's a big thing, but let's not rush Reece James back, in my opinion. Let's go back to the lineup. So let's go back to midfield. I've gone for Denis Zakaria, who I thought played really well against Dinamo Zagreb. Surprised not to feature at all against Arsenal. I've gone for him in midfield alongside Conor Gallagher and Ruben Loftus-Cheek in those two sort of more advanced roles in midfield. I feel we needed energy against Arsenal. I really do. And I feel like we're going to need our energy against Manchester City, a team that dominates possession from start to end. We're going to have players in there that are willing to get stuck in. And Jorginho is a injury risk anyway. I think he's a doubt for tomorrow's game. So I think this would be, Kovacic again, another one that, very injury prone at the moment. So I think I'd go with Conor Gallagher and Ruben Loftus-Cheek in midfield. And also as well, that does then go back to the question of, you can revert back to a back five. You could easily put Cucurella as your left wing back. You could revert Ruben Loftus-Cheek into that right wing back position and shift over Cesar Azpilicueta into that right centre back role as well, leaving Denis Zakaria and Conor Gallagher in the midfield as well. So there is options. I think whilst Ruben Loftus-Cheek is on the pitch, you always have the option of going back to a back five. With the options that we've got on the pitch as well. So my front three that I've gone with is Christian Pulisic, Armando Broja and Hakim Ziyech. Three players that I think really do need a good game, full 90 minutes to show what they can do. I think Broja, when he came on, I think it was against against Brentford, he played really well. He was a nightmare for Ben Mee, if you remember correctly. He needs a good run out in his team, and I think after Aubameyang's performance against Arsenal, 8 touches of the ball. Yes, he wasn't getting the service from Kai Havertz, but 8 touches of the ball, not good enough for Aubameyang, not good enough. But I want to see Armando Broja. I want to see him perform really well. I think if Manchester City do go with a very sort of mixture, like we might do, but I think if Manchester City go with a youthful side, with a hint of it, with a dash of experience. I think Broja should flourish in that role. And I think Christian Pulisic is another one of those players that you can never really decide whether he's going to be part of the team going forward or whether he needs to start considering other options. And I think Hakim Ziyech is the same as well. I think he's one of those players that you see flashes of brilliance in him. Same with Christian Pulisic, but they don't do it enough. And I think these are the kind of games where I'd rest my Mason Mount, I'd rest Raheem Sterling, who I'm sure would love to play in this fixture returning back to the Etihad, but I'd rest the two of them. I'd rest Aubameyang, I'd rest Mason Mount as well, Kai Havertz. I think all three of them need a rest. So I think my front three would be Pulisic, Kai Havertz, Hakim Ziyech, Armando Broja going forward. Now, as I said, we do have some really good options off the bench in Lewis Hall, Amari Hutchinson, who I think could feature in there as well. Maybe Carney Chukwuemeka if he's fit, but this is silverware. This is, silverware's at stake. There's a trophy at stake. I think we should be going all out to try and win something this season. And if you look at all the other trophies I've mentioned in terms of the Premier League, the Champions League, this looks like the one that we could go out and win, especially if City do rest some of their star players. Kevin De Bruyne might not play, so if they can rest some of their players and this is our opportunity to win something, I think we need to go strong. I know there's going to be a lot of people saying that we should be putting out some of the youngsters, but there are options off the bench, in my opinion. And I think Graham Potter has said before in previous press conferences that he wouldn't necessarily go straight to the youth against Zagreb when he could have, dead rubber, some people called it, but he went for a very strong squad, and I think he'll do the same. I think he'll do the same. He'll treat the Carabao Cup with a bit of respect and try and go as far as we can in it. So I think we've got every opportunity to win this game, every chance to win it. If we can put out a strong squad, we can try and retain possession of the ball, which will be difficult against a Manchester City side. But if we can, then I think we have the options on the pitch to be able to at least give ourselves a good chance to win the game. In terms of predictions, I'm gonna go 2-1. I'm gonna go 2-1. I think we'll concede to Manchester City. I can't remember the last time they didn't score at Etihad, so I'm gonna go for 2-1. I think we need to hit the ground running. And the thing with Manchester City is if you attack Manchester City, they do crumble. We've seen it with Liverpool against Tottenham on Sunday. There was moments in the game when Tottenham attacked them and, Liverpool had to sit back. They had to bring on an extra defender and pack out that midfield as well. And I think City, if you attack City, they do like to sit back. They have to have a plan B, and sometimes they don't have that. So I think for me, if we can get Conor Gallagher forward, Ruben Loftus-Cheek forward, Hakim Ziyech into those key central spaces behind the defenders. Same with Christian Pulisic. Armando Broja's got to do a lot of work in that in and amongst the defenders as well. So, this is going to be one of those games where we play really, really well, or we play really bad. And when I say bad, I mean worse than Arsenal. So I'm going to go 2-1. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, what you think about the game. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up. And as I said at the start of this one, make sure you hit the Linktree link in the description. It will take you to all the podcast episodes. This has been T.Dot from the Shed End. Until next time, stay safe and thank you very much for watching.